Question from Yes Yes was, do you have any tips for beginners trying to get into cybersecurity? Yes. One, um, learn how you learn. That sounds like a dumb thing. One, don't. I have my opinions there. Not going to put them, but um, learn how you learn. So me personally, I learned visually. That's why I first got into like YouTube. Not necessarily just like uploading, but like watching YouTube. I learn very visually. So I like to watch videos that teach me how to do things. You might learn from reading. You might learn from listening. Find out how you learn and like really hammer into that. The most important thing in just about any field, especially in tech, is being a good self learner because things work so fast that you can't rely on other people to teach you things. That doesn't mean that other people suck. My personal experience with formal education in college was that it was bad. High school was worse. I went to a rural high school and a not super technically renowned college, let's put it that way. Like they had great researchers, but their like actual education was pretty trash, and more expensive than it was worth. So the important thing that I got out of that was if I want to learn a thing and get good at that thing, I need to teach myself, and I got good at that. One thing that I pride myself in is being good at teaching myself. Number two, don't pick a niche too early. A lot of people try to niche down, and niching down is super important later on in your career, but being a generalist is super useful. That's one of the reasons why, even though I'm not doing threat intelligence work right now, technically, I'm really glad that I got into threat intelligence because threat intelligence kind of forced me to generalize. And what I mean by generalize is I had to know a little bit about reverse engineering. I had to know a little bit about OffSec. I had to know a little bit about like blue teaming and SOC. I had to know a lot about intelligence and like the intel cycle and like how to produce and write intelligence and things like that. So that generalization, becoming a generalist was super useful. And I still kind of consider myself a generalist, even though now I'm like in software engineering more specifically. I still sort of kind of consider myself a generalist, because I still know about all of those things and I still kind of flex those muscles and like read intelligence reports, and I still do a little bit of reverse engineering, and I still do all of the things that I do on YouTube. Even though I'm a developer, I still kind of do all of those other things as well. That said, later on in your career, you're going to want to kind of niche down a little bit. You're going to want to be the guy who's good at reverse engineering. You're going to want to be the guy or girl who's good at like SOC stuff. You're going to want to be the person, I'm going to put it that way because that's a little bit more friendly. You're going to want to be the person who is known for being good at something. For me, at first, it was threat intelligence. Then it became software engineering in a threat intelligence environment. So I am kind of specialized at writing security tools. That's kind of my specialization. And the reason why you end up specializing later on in your career is because A, that's where the money's at, and B, that's where you feel the most fulfilled. Eventually you will find a niche that you really enjoy, and you're going to want to hammer into that so that you can stick with that niche. Basically, if you stay a generalist, but you have this thing that you're super passionate about, eventually you're going to kind of like flutter away from that thing that you're like super passionate about, and you don't want to do that. Like I did that for a while, where I was super passionate about engineering, but I kept trying to like shoehorn myself into a threat intelligence role, and I didn't like it. It just wasn't for me. It's nothing against threat intelligence necessarily. I guess I could switch over to my face since I'm just talking right now. So self-teaching, being a generalist, eventually niching down. Career-wise, if we're talking like salary and professional development, do not be afraid to leave a job. That's going to look very bad on me as a professional. That does not mean like straight up leave every other month, but it does mean if you are not feeling fulfilled, or if you feel like you are being underpaid or underappreciated, do not be afraid to leave. Right now we're in an economic downturn, so it's a little bit more difficult. There's a little bit more like shakiness in the like kind of environment, if you were looking for new jobs. But don't think like just because, like just because you've got this job and it feels like, this amazing amount of money that you're making and this really cool blah blah blah, you can find another place that will appreciate you more or pay you more or that you enjoy more. I've switched jobs on average like once a year for the last couple of years. My salary has doubled, and I'm now in a job that I feel much more fulfilled at. I'm going to stay at this job longer because I've got a higher salary and because I feel more fulfilled. So you kind of have to like eventually land on a place where you're going to stay a little bit longer. But until then, like, do your thing, like support yourself, because you're going to be like your biggest ally there. So let's see, what else have I got? There are probably like hotter takes. This might be a hotter take. Learn a programming language well. Even if you're doing something that isn't engineering, it helps to be able to script stuff up. And it helps to be able to script stuff up quickly. So learning a programming language like fairly well, you don't have to be just like a down in the weeds expert at it, but learning a programming language fairly well, super helpful. Learn communication and teamwork. You will be working in a team wherever you're at. It doesn't matter how good you are or where you go work, you're going to be working in a team, so you might as well get used to that and get good at it. Okay, I'm going to read over chat real quick. It's about persistent effort, not making big steps occasionally. Agreed. Try to learn the technology before learning how to secure. Agree there. Competitions are important to get started. CTFs are okay. Not going to say they're that important. I didn't really get into them, but depending on where you're trying to go, like if you're trying to go into OffSeg, CTFs are pretty good. 1 mile distance, 1 inch depth at first, and then pick a topic. Agreed. Try to document your learning. Explaining concepts make you better. Yes. Start a blog. It's free to do Medium. I got my start on Medium. It's fun. It gets your name out there. Professional development is good. Learning how to communicate is good. I have a good amount of experience in Python and Bash. I'm currently trying out Rust. Good deal. Do you think that the U.S. is a need for foreign cybersecurity professionals? I think a video about the industry state in the U.S. would be much appreciated. Ooh, that sounds like a fun topic. Foreign cybersecurity professionals is complicated. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The approach right now is complicated. I keep saying complicated. Basically, in certain areas in the cybersecurity field, being a foreigner honestly is bad. And that sucks. And I wish it weren't that way. But like working in the defense industrial base, working in government, obviously, like those type of fields, going to be very, very hard if you're from certain countries. Sucks, but that's it. Halo X1, I'll cover your question in a second, and then I need to get back to bug bounty research stuff. So sucks, but that kind of is what it is. Telecommunications engineering, and I'm scared I'm going to be rough for the next couple of years. Telecom seems like they're fairly accepting of like foreigners, at least from what I've seen. Obviously, I'm a white dude, so like I've got a very different experience from, frankly, somebody whose name is Muhammad. Like very different. So, it depends. I would say the defense industrial base is going to be a pretty hard nut to crack. Government going to be a very hard nut to crack. Any like highly regulated industry aside from like healthcare, you probably are pretty good to get into healthcare. Healthcare security, obviously. So it's not like a no. Like I don't think you're going to face like huge issues there because there are tons of opportunities, but it's different for white dudes versus like basically anybody else. Like it's a lot easier for me to get a job, frankly, than it is for tons of other people, and that sucks. And that's something we all need to like work on changing. But if I said anything else, I'd be lying to you, and I don't want to do that.